Hello everyone. Welcome to our 1 year anniversary stream. Hi, how you doing? We're good. We've been doing this for a year, one whole year of TTRPGs here on Twitch and YouTube. And I've got a crew with me, all wearing perfectly normal headwear. Basically, just because Chris wanted us to wear party hats. So, it's lovely of you to put me in the center, John. As if I'm running this. I guess I am. I did start. Oh God, it's all got running already. Hi everyone. Hi.
Hello.
I'm Matt. I'm joined by John, by Chris, Sam, Johnny, Matthew, Pierre, all your favourites, and we didn't invite the other ones. You know the ones I mean, the ones I really like. They didn't turn up.
They'll never see this, right?
No,
this isn't being kept anywhere, is it? After this, because
certainly not.
Yeah, it's not like we've got a place where we upload our VODs.
Vanish forever and definitely not go straight to YouTube. 24 hours later, I guess. Hi everyone. We hope you're good. We are joined out there in chat by quite a few people. It looks like, so thank you for that. Yeah, we've got our party hats. This is exciting, isn't it? We'll have a little tour of the party hats momentarily. But before we do, I wore this one first because it's sillier, but it is also extremely warm and woolly. So I have a backup one that's way more comfortable that I'm going to switch to. And I will explain why it's a silly party hat in a second, because it might look at first as if I've just turned into a regular YouTuber. What's up, guys and gals, etc. But it is in fact silly. It's silly because it's a Cincinnati Bengals hat, and that is silly because no one should support them because they're so fucking bad at their jobs. Certainly no one should support them for 30 years from another continent. That would be really silly. So there we go. That's why. Chris, could you explain your hat for us, please?
My hat contains a tiny hat friend who is pleased to see you. I could just stay like this, nice. Actually, for the rest of the stream. I am tiny bread.
Commitment. It's commitment.
It's also back-wrenchingly awful. My hat, I'm wearing a small plastic novelty hat that I keep around for foundation for more abstract hats, around which I have created an abstract hat by using tinsel and a very small friend.
Good. That's great. John, tell us. I'm gonna ask everyone about their hats. So this is riveting content right from the off. John.
My hat spun out of me going, oh no, I don't have a fun hat. I know I can make a hat. Where's that newspaper I keep around for putting paint on? Oh no, I can't find it. There just happens to be a roll of wrapping paper.
Yeah.
And that's my hat.
It's good stuff. And as I said before the stream started, it's got very Pride Robin Hood vibes. So that's pretty cool. Sam's just wearing a boring one, so we'll skip straight on to Johnny. Johnny, explain your hat, please, and give us a demonstration as well, because that was impressive when you did it before.
This is a silly party hat because it's actually a head torch for running. So if worn at a party, it would just sort of,
epilepsy warning.
Blind people. Yeah. It's not flashing, so hopefully it's okay.
That's fine.
It's just,
I think if epileptic people couldn't deal with just a single constant bright light, they wouldn't be able to go out in the daytime.
It's pretty.
Does it have a flashing option if you needed it?
If you need to use it in a tactical way.
I don't know, actually. I bought it new in something like April, so I've not had a reason to wear it yet.
Yeah.
But soon the dark will close in,
and you'll be happy of that, protecting you from all the things that lurk there. Matthew, tell us, you're wearing two hats.
Oh God,
I'm going for double hat.
Double hat.
About quantity over quality. This is staying on Dane theme because they're all climbing related. This is a mountain equipment beanie, which protects you from mountains, and this also protects you from falling bits of mountain.
Yes.
So we've got a Black Diamond sponsorship soon, I hope. I'm
not an expert on mountain climbing, but as far as I'm aware, the idea is to not fall, yes?
Yeah. If you can avoid it, it's usually better to do that. But you want to fall on your head because you'll be wearing one of these. So
you
just try and fall on your head.
You definitely want to fall on your head.
If you're gonna fall on your head. That's
straight onto the temple, like
yeah, or like the occipital lobe at the back, that bit where it's where a baby doesn't have it when it's born. That's like cracking an egg.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you, Black Diamond, for this.
Good, Pierre. Are you're a couple of months early for Thanksgiving?
Well, I used my time machine to go back to the year of 2009, whereupon I killed someone who wore this as a party hat. I then came back, took it to a party shop, and switched it for an identical hat. And that is the hat that you see before you. Thinking on it, maybe I could have done a simpler plan to obtain this hat, but I've probably created some sort of time travel paradox this way.
But you got to make your mark somehow in life, haven't you? That's the thing. So
if any of you wonder whatever happened to the year of 2009 and why everything got weird, that'll probably be the ripples of time passing through us.
And also because you had to practice, so you went back in time and killed about 5,000 people just to steal their hats. And they all obviously just vanished.
But
so
none of
if you
the
know
hats
someone,
fit.
if you know someone who had a cool hat in 2009 and just vanished, maybe. I mean, it could be of any number of reasons, but that could be one answer. Sam, I guess tell us why you're wearing that mundane bit of headwear.
So I'm a chicken and I'm wearing Sam.
On your butt?
Why are you wearing Sam?
I mean, chickens can't wear hats.
Hang on, John. You don't have a butt, Sam?
Now, I don't want to be the one to call foul on this. But Sam, if that was the case, why would your name tag not say chicken brackets Sam?
I'm going incognito. Hoping you won't notice.
Look, it's like at fashion shows where they kind of put the designer before the actual model name because it's important.
Sure. Sam is modeling chicken. Wonderful. Well, we're wearing hats, but don't let that put you off. We're still the same people, we promise. We're here to celebrate our first year of streaming here on Twitch and our VODs on YouTube as well. Normally I'd start off streams with like a promo thing, but you can look below, there's links, there's a schedule, you can see what we do. We run TTRPGs and we have fun doing it and aim to do it in an atmospheric fashion.
Hang on, you have fun?
Well, my groups have fun, but
my group do not have fun.
Damn you,
they did not have fun this week.
Do you not have fun tormenting those poor innocent souls?
Johnny has fun. His group doesn't have fun. Yeah,
that's too soon.
That's the way that works. Too soon, indeed. So what we'd like for you guys to do out in chat, and there's quite a number of you today. Hello. We were worried no one would turn up to this thing, but look at that. If you have any comments or questions for us, we're not going to have like a specific section for that or anything. John will just flash them up as soon as anything remotely comes up. So go ahead and write stuff in there. We're going to be dropping some details on like upcoming things that we have on the channel and like thoughts on what we've done so far and all sorts of things like that. But you know what? How about we start with a little bit of a sort of potted history of telling tales, the 12 months, and actually time before that, because, there's a couple of things to mention before that, including some things you might want to go check out if you are curious. So for anyone who doesn't know, we picked this up, technically 12 months and a week ago, because it's not technically the essentially it was because we were quite tired of working on our other channel a lot of us used to be on a different channel called ATCB Gaming that actually mainly did board games and video games and some role-playing games. And it's still there. It's still over on YouTube if you want to look it up, ATCB Gaming. And there is some role-playing content on there, but I don't think any of it's filmed. I think it's all audio. But we played End of the World, we played Advanced Fighting Fantasy, we played Age of Rebellion, the Final Fantasy Star Wars RPG. And there's a bunch of that over there. And then we kind of got sick of doing that. Plus, it was pretty pretty hard to get together in person and play board games in the middle of the pandemic. So we thought we'd do this. And so far, it's been pretty fun. We kicked off with Symbaroum, I think just with Symbaroum, right? It was a good month or so, I think, before we brought Vampire into it.
I think we started Vampire around the end of October.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah,
the spooky month.
That's why we did it, I think.
For spooky vampires. We kicked those two off fairly close to each other. We started with Symbaroum. And then we really shuffled. We carried on doing that for like 4 months. And then we really shuffled things up in January was when we really started expanding what we were doing. And that was kind of twofold. First was the wonderful Johnny's wonderful Call of Cthulhu series, which started off in January. And has been running very well since, with kind of slightly rotating players and kind of anthology style. But we also started our monthly one-shots back in January, which have been pretty successful, all in all. And we've done a lot of different stuff. Alien, Fiasco, Honey Heist, Mortborg. It's all been pretty good. And that kind of takes us more or less up to date. We did have a couple of breaks. Vampire actually stopped in, I want to say, April. For various reasons, but the primary one was that no one seemed to want to watch it. And that isn't bitterness. It's just it is what it is. People out there didn't seem too keen on it, so we kind of cracked that on the head. Maybe we'll go back to it one day. Who knows? And we started Blades in the Dark. We also had a break in Symbaroum where we played Coriolis. But that's us up to date, really, isn't it? And now we still running Symbaroum, Blades, Call of Cthulhu. Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. So
when are we going to really commit to a sci-fi role-playing game?
When
you had Coriolis for 6 weeks. What do you want?
6 weeks.
Andy crashed. Well, no, I shouldn't spoil it, should I?
Probably not.
No.
But
I just said one word. It's fine. There were no spoilers there.
No spoilers there. Tell you what. Let's talk through what our experiences have been with it so far. Like highlights, right? Let's talk through like highlights or things we particularly enjoyed about it, or whatever, or like how we've come to it. Does that sound like reasonable? So I've gabbed on already enough. Why don't we go with, and let's do a traditional TTRPG thing here. I've got a die right here.
Oh, no way.
John.
Six-sided die.
Indeed. Well, there's 6 people other than me, isn't there? So that's appropriate.
Wow. Where do you get 6-sided dice from?
John, highlights from the year, and like what, how are you enjoying it? You having fun stream managing most of the week?
Well, while I'm here, I would like to take this opportunity to use my platform to tell our viewers there is currently a poll in chat to determine which row has the best hats. It's currently tied between us and Sam.
Yeah.
So that's probably up there on the highlights.
So wait, the entire row versus me.
I vote Sam.
You're winning.
Yeah.
Anyone who votes for me.
Wait, no, this is fair.
Transfer your vote to Sam.
I just voted for you, so
Oh yeah.
I've been really enjoying it. It's been something to do during the pandemic. That made it sound like it's something to do. But like I role played for a number of years, but there was never quite enough role playing, and it's read, but I also kind of get fatigue from doing the actual role playing. So the thing about the stream managing is it's really nice, just sort of hang out, and it still feels like I'm hanging out with my friends, but they're doing all the work. So that's pretty good. I'm trying to think of highlights, like any moment where.
So far, sorry, John, you've said I can't think of any highlights, and what I can say about it is it hasn't been entropy.
That's not what I meant.
To be fair, to give highlights without spoilers is hard.
No,
Yeah,
it is hard. Yeah.
But also,
but also,
but also, there just haven't been any memorable moments in any of our long-running campaigns.
Yes.
Fair enough. That's
not true. That's not true. There have been some absolutely fantastic moments, and pretty much any time where either the players had been left into mute horror, or where everything has just descended into chaos so hard that Matt can't stop laughing, has been fantastic.
Yeah, like I think for a lot of people involved in Simbroom, the highlight of the year has been when I mistakenly described the end of Anton's flail as having male balls on it. I know if Mike was here, he would say any moment in which I felt intense embarrassment was his highlight. So that's fair. Chris, old friend. And for anyone who doesn't know as well, I worked on ATCB Gaming with a lot of people, but Chris and I are the OG. Like me and Chris set up ATCB Gaming when it started in like 2012, 2013, something like that.
Please.
Yeah, right. So we've been doing gaming stuff online for a long time, and unfortunately, we've known each other even longer. But Chris, what you have your moment in the spotlight, mate? Why don't you tell us about?
Hi. Hi. No, this. But seriously, stealing Wayne's World bits aside, this coming back to doing TTRPG because I hadn't done it in about 10 years, give or take, was. I mean, it was certainly a bit of fun. I mean, a lot of the things I do with Matt, I'm mostly doing just because I have a government contract to keep an eye on him and make sure he doesn't do anything dangerous. But also, it was actually. But coming back, and I keep going, I think this is 3 for 3 for these talky bits where I said that I really fell in love with the Symbaroum system, but it's been a joy getting back into modern TTRPGs and rules light, and neither a gazillion tables nor 10,000 pages of reading of kind of gothic edgelord backstory. And I've been thoroughly enjoying that. I think it's hard to pick a highlight, but I still love the bit where I kind of connected the dots on a Symbaroum murder mystery and kind of role played it without probably briefing Matt that I got the answer beforehand to prepare him for it, and seeing him in a bit of mute horror was a bit of a delight. Or at least a bit of a kind of, I have no idea what that means or where it's come from. But it was good.
Good. And I swear I am rolling these randomly, but Pierre.
Well, I think my history up to this point is like I had played some D&D for a while, but in a really very homebrewy way. So probably not what many people do for D&D. And I'd done improv, and then I'd been like, oh man, I really want to get back into doing role-playing games. And then this came along, and I have tried a whole bunch of different systems. And I think that's like a really cool thing, is that I have been exposed to a lot of different like systems and approaches and ways of doing things, that I think is really cool because, you know, sparks your imagination about things to do. And I think that's also some of the reason why I am sort of trying to dip my toes into the water of maybe doing some GMing.
You
which,
are. Well, you say maybe. I hope you are, because you're on the schedule for this Saturday.
Who knows? But like doing it a bit more. So yeah, I think it's been really cool. In terms of like moment highlights, usually it's weird because often I get like I like when you can have sort of little character moments with either the other players or the GM characters and stuff, where it's not necessarily like about the thing that you're revealing, and it's just about like revealing character basically, or revealing, I mean, I guess in the GM's case, revealing the world via character, because I imagine that's one of the weird things about GMing is like, yeah, you're always having to sort of make the meat flavored in the right kind of way. And so for things like Vampire, where you're trying to convey a sort of tone, you're also trying to convey like lots and lots of different voices. And I think that's like having it so that there's just loads of different characters, and exploring that has been just, yeah, that's the best bits. So that's like my non-spoilery kind of.
That's like lucky for you then, because that is absolutely one of my GM Achilles heels, is my propensity to fill stories with like 1,000 NPCs.
Oh, I think that's great. So, I like
that. Good. I'm glad you like it.
I am the only one, Matt.
You might be.
Yeah, cool. I think I ran out of space for NPC character names in an endless Google Doc during.
Yeah, sounds about right. Just to prove that this has been RNG now, Sam is next. So yeah, there we go.
John, quickly adjust his position so it looks like he's next.
Shift me up. Yeah, there we go. So obviously my favorite moment in all of our games and everything so far has been Johnny's sudden testicle moment.
There's a lot of genitalia-based humor going on here, guys.
Also, that sounds like
genitalia-based.
That sounds like something actually happened on the stream, as opposed
no,
to
we won't explain
the word by accident.
Johnny stood up a bit too forcefully.
I would just like to put a disclaimer that there has so far been no genitalia on any of our streams.
No nudity of any kind.
Near misses, but you know.
Join our OnlyFans.
Oh god. Yay, Chicken Hat wins. Woo. Anyway. Yeah, I think it's kind of similar to Pierre as well. My favorite moments are, God, it's really hard to talk seriously when there's a giant chicken hat in your head. Like the genuine fun player interaction when people are enjoying like experiencing their characters. I know Johnny's really enjoyed this too in our Cthulhu sessions, but when we can just be left alone for half an hour and we're just having such a fun time. But it's like the moments when the players are feeling genuinely strong emotions for the characters they're playing, because of just the roleplay situations being set up, are some of my favorites. When it's just like, and trying to figure out how to act out the emotion that you're feeling for the character, but in a way that the character will like feel it and kind of express it, is really satisfying to see other people do that as well. I've been really enjoying getting into that more and more with Cthulhu particularly, but also some of the one shots as well.
Yeah. As a GM, like, and it's a bit of a cliche, but getting a player to cry over the death of an NPC is definitely kind of one of those peak GM experiences that like that I haven't had on Telling Tales yet, but I'll get there.
Yeah.
Just start killing them off, Matt. Just every character until one of us
all
cries.
of them, and then you're just crying because you're like, why is it not stopping? Why must they all perish?
And indeed, what Lord Mella said in there in chat, it is really difficult to get to that point. I think actually it takes a lot of like, I think it's funny. It's one of those funny things. It takes a lot of really good work from the GM, but it is quite hard to do as a player in a satisfying way as well, because it's very easy to feel emotion as yourself, but it's a little funnier to feel emotion as a character and then try and like use that properly.
Yeah.
I think that's
And it
one of the things
really
I've been
needs to be
really
something
learning
long
practice.
running as well.
Yeah, exactly. One of the
I'm,
reasons I'm always a big fan of like really long things that you develop a lot of backstory, and you get to. I think it takes a long time to get to grips with the character. So
I think there's also like a certain amount as a player when you're. It can sometimes be scary to be the first person in the group to put that level of emotion in it. Because if everyone else is just wandering around being murder hobos and having a fun romp, for you to suddenly go, I want to talk about my emotions in like a 10-minute.
Yeah.
Just like in real life.
And yeah, there's always a possibility that someone in the group is going to be really put off by that level of kind of emotional intensity in it as well. So yeah, it's a tricky thing to achieve. And I think especially if you're not in something long running, and especially if it's online, if I'm honest, like I think it's much easier to achieve that level of direct emotional resonance in person.
It's one of the funny advantages we have at Telling Tales. Actually, it's a weird sort of reflection that I had recently on it being filmed. It gives a lot of disadvantages for roleplay, but it actually gives some really good, like, unique advantages as well, because everyone is automatically going to be taking it to that serious level. You're not really questioning at any point whether someone's going to be put off by your emotion in that way or something.
I think the biggest advantage for me, which is nothing to do with what you were saying, but the ability to go back and rewatch last week's or listen to it and like catch up is so valuable, like to me and to also like for players doing recaps as well, I think so. All right, Matthew, it's you. Hello.
Lovely. Hi. So I guess I'm like the opposite of an OG in that I was kind of pretty new to this, although upon reflection, Call of Cthulhu started in January, so it's been like 9 months, which is mad. Basically, I'd played one shot of D&D before, pretty much maybe two, years and years and years and years ago, and then I kind of was friends with some other members of this group, and Johnny was starting a new campaign, so I thought I'd give it a go. I guess it's not something that I kind of thought would come naturally to me. It's kind of using some neurons that aren't normally getting used, and as a lot of people probably felt during lockdown, it was a good time to try things maybe that you'd not tried, and particularly something like this, I was like, let's just lean into it, give it a go, see how I enjoy it. And I think I was pretty lucky to be in Johnny's campaign because it's been great, and the other ones are obviously great too. But I think the Call of Cthulhu setting and the setting and the style of the storytelling kind of is kind of my jam in the sense that, in terms of the sort of books I read and the films I watch and everything. So after a bit of time of sort of kind of just getting used to the cycles of the dynamics and how the story moves on, I felt like I could relax into it probably quicker than I might have done another system or another story. So yeah, it's been really good fun. I've really enjoyed it, and but 99.9% of my role-playing experience has been Johnny's Call of Cthulhu campaign, which it's certainly not a complaint, but just probably quite unusual.
It's cool though. I think Johnny, you carry on, man.
I was just going to make a joke at my own expense, just to say you have no idea what's still out there, Matt. You're going to have a lovely time with whoever else you play with.
Do you know what?
You'll do another game and be like, oh man.
If there's not lions coming in in the middle of an episode, then I'm not interested.
It's actually been kind of my experience, especially growing up in roleplay groups, that like there tends to be a certain kind of role player who started on Call of Cthulhu and stayed on Call of Cthulhu for like 10 years. And that's not an unstoried bunch of people to be attached to. That there's a lot of groundbreaking, record-breaking scenarios in that space, but they do seem to be almost an island apart from the rest of the community.
Yeah. In the same way, obviously, that a lot of people play D&D and nothing else. Like people definitely play Call of Cthulhu and nothing else.
God damn it! Will people stop saying things?
Back in the day, a lot of people would play kind of World of Darkness stuff and nothing else. I just want to say, like, it's really interesting for me looking at like seeing what Johnny's doing. And what's weird for me about that is that this is a channel where I'm one of the 2 weekly GMs, and I'm not the one doing slow burn horror, which is my usual thing. And it's just kind of like, oh wow, someone else is taking my strength and running with it. No, it's great. It's genuinely great. Like, really,
I'm pretty sure
really
it's your
enjoyable
strength
to
too,
have
Johnny.
that aspect. Yeah,
You've done a great job, Johnny. I'm pretty sure it's your strength too.
Johnny's done a really good
Give him that
job.
run for his money.
Yeah, absolutely. And Johnny, it's your turn, mate. Why don't you tell us how better than me you are?
Loads. So things I've enjoyed the most. That's kind of what we're doing, isn't it? Definitely the end of this week's Call of Cthulhu session is one thing that I've really enjoyed. I really enjoyed. I think of the 2 arcs that we've finished, I think the first one was probably my favorite. And I don't know if that was just because I'd sort of planned that more just because like it was the first one and then there was only kind of a week between the first one and the second one. So I'd had ideas bubbling in my head for the second one, but it was all while still kind of running the first one. The first one, I felt even for myself that I could see the setting in my own head better than the second one from the very beginning. Like once I'd got sort of 2 or 3 episodes into the second one, it was kind of like, it was the same. I was as immersed in it as I was in the first one, but that kind of, so yeah, I think the kind of finishing the first one and being like, oh, that's done and it all went really well was kind of a really nice moment for me. And also, as kind of Sam and Matthew have said, just the little moments that you get that are not planned, that are kind of into character things.
Yeah.
And
I
also,
think you've had like, because obviously I stream managed the first series that you did, and like one of the things I really enjoyed was you've got a really good kind of way with words for like the moments where things go weird, and like one of the real things I enjoyed was seeing like, because normally I kind of see them from my perspective, I guess. So from an outsider, it was really nice seeing it happen, and I didn't have to be involved, like of like little moments where you'd say something and the group, like the tone would shift immediately and the group would react visibly in a way. And I think like there's a moment early on in the first series, and minor spoilers, where like time and space kind of warp for a second very early on. It's kind of the first thing that happens that's like spooky or like supernatural. And like the reaction of that was, yeah, it was really cool. I love those little moments in the Cthulhu stuff that Johnny does.
Yeah, it's been loads of fun, and everybody that's been a player has been great as well. And I know Matt said that you've obviously not played very much before, but I don't think that came across. Similarly, there are other players who were sort of not as experienced as some others who are concerned about their performance, but I think everybody's been great. And
I think we've been real, like, not lucky, but like I think it's a real advantage that we've had, that we have people of various levels of skill, but everyone's come to it really keen to like throw themselves into it, and that's really cool. Yeah.
Nice.
I saw a question.
Why don't you start throwing up some? We've got quite a few comments or questions in chat. One thing I will say, although we'll address everything that people pop up to one degree or another, we're quite keen in telling tales on sort of pulling back a little from kind of typical parasocial full like knowledge of our lives and stuff like that. But we can answer little bits and pieces. So, but just so you know, in case someone's asked our like postal code or something,
I will tell you my bank account details if you ask very politely.
Okay, so the first one, I'm only putting it up because I actually have an answer, and also because it's embarrassing to Matt.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
So 42 asks, what is everyone's favorite buffet? And apparently John has an answer for this.
So I'm a big fan of a cheese buffet. that usually isn't just cheese. It's normally a selection of cheeses with, there's crackers, there's grapes, there's slices of apple. There are accompaniments to like go with the cheese and like
I can
highlight
see.
and that's really good.
Make a good
'cause I
case
like
for a
cheese,
chuffet.
and I also like chuffet. That's amazing.
Chuffet.
My
Yes,
second
Sounds repulsive.
Yeah, it
Kickstarter
sounds a lot
answer
less appealing.
would be the buffet that my nan used to put together whenever family members visited and it was too hot to actually cook, because it would be like a collection of salad, the most rubbery boiled eggs you've ever seen, just like slices of ham that was way too salty, and it was great because I was 5.
This
but,
is wonderful, John. But can I ask, are you intending to stop your list of favorite buffets after two?
my third one. No, yeah, that's it.
20 more minutes of John's favorite buffets. There we go, guys. That's what you all want to know.
Ironically, I do not have a favorite buffet. So there we go. A roast is like a roast at a pub. That's kind of a buffet, right?
I think we should at least fill
teppanyaki
people in on the backstory for this now quite storied meme.
I was describing a table full of food in a fantasy setting, and I called it a buffet. Is everyone happy now? Everyone is happy.
It was in a dungeon.
It wasn't in a dungeon.
Okay, but it was like
totally
underground in this hidden place, and it was a buffet.
In fairness, the actual structure of the plot meant it was kind of like the underground WI meeting, which I thoroughly enjoyed.
It was meant to be food there for a community to share.
Look,
so a buffet.
It's valid.
I think does Yo Sushi count as a buffet? Because if so, then that.
I guess it does.
I reckon it is.
Yeah,
I guess it does. Yeah.
Very expensive buffet.
Look, far be it from me to move us on from the buffet question, but John, move us on from the buffet question.
All right.
For the love of goodness.
Chat, ask more questions about buffets and silly things like that. He'll have to put them up.
yes.
Vandilis, good to see you here, my friend. How geographically distant are Telling Tales members? Did any of you get to play face-to-face together before lockdown? If you've played offline, how do you compare the role-playing experience in both settings? So, while we're not going to share exactly where we are, a lot of Telling Tales people were friends before we did this, and before lockdown and everything like that. In fact, I don't think there's anyone involved who isn't at least friends with one other, like a real life friend of someone else. But there's like a core of us. Yeah, I could just see it, just a chicken hopping up and down at the bottom, which is broken, John. But there we go. I'm going to soldier on regardless. Oh my word. But there's kind of like a core of us, I guess, who were the people who were involved in ATCB gaming, and we all lived in or around a city, and then various people left and met other people, and other people were brought in, and that's basically how Telling Tales happened. But a bunch of us, role played IRL together, including I have a campaign that's been running. That's on hold now, but had been running for almost a decade before we started Telling Tales. That's like a real life one, and John is in that, and Sam was in that briefly, and who else? Justin was in it. Neil was in it. I think that's all the people from the channel who were in it, but and also other role playing games. So we've all done stuff.
It's funny because I've been in real life one shots with Matt, and I've also played some role playing games with John and Sam. But for actually, maybe I've played a one shot with Johnny at some point, but like very brief.
Were you an Alien?
Yeah, it was a Halloween one I did for Alien.
Yeah. But actually, I haven't done very much in-person role-playing with many of these people. Definitely the huge bulk of my role-playing with everyone has been online. And I would say that I would say that in person is definitely better because it makes it easier to read people's intentions when you're in the room, and you can just sort of feel how people are feeling and judge everything, and reaction times aren't stilted because of Zoom and, well, other online things. However, online things like have enabled me to get involved in way more role-playing stuff than I could have ever possibly realistically done. And I think that in itself is like very cool. And I think once you get over at least the initial sort of technical hurdles, I think it like I now don't really feel the weirdness of it so much. I don't feel like the barrier, but definitely like at the beginning it took a while to get used to compared to offline stuff. But yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, I think like I mean it helps to do it like multiple times a week. And the you know, weirdness of it goes away pretty quickly. Yeah, what was there some other stuff in that comment? How do you put? No, I think we've probably pretty covered that, right? Yeah, the answer is a kind of core friendship group came in from ATCB Gaming, and then other friendship groups have kind of like bolted onto the side of it through various acquaintances and friends, and yeah, here we are.
Yeah,
I definitely think the best RPG session is the one you can attend. Yeah, I think you are right. Yeah, shouldn't say this for someone who's doing this online, but like, yeah, I prefer to play it in IRL with people.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Next thing, John. Lord Malice. Hey, Malice. What's everyone enjoyed doing outside of TTRPGs? Well, if only I had an answer to that. let's just go left to right. The other people say a thing you want to do. Don't make me roll a die for it. John, you start.
I have too many hobbies. If you want me to just reel some things,
you do have too many hobbies, Johnny. Yeah.
I got really into running a few years ago, but like stupid distances, like more than marathons. So that takes up a lot of my time and energy and is ridiculous, but I enjoy it. All the normal things that everybody else here enjoys. Like
I would like to second, as someone who knows Johnny, that it is ridiculous.
Yeah, all the same things as everybody else, I guess, like video games and board games and stuff, as well as TTRPGs. I also really like my cats, and I play a lot of music as well. I think that's probably the main ones.
Good music it is too.
Thanks, man.
It's all right. Go on, Sam. What do you do?
Other than wear chickens on my head,
Yeah.
I like. Yeah,
hang on,
stuff
Sam
same
just admitted that he's wearing the chicken.
He's
We've
getting
seen
Shame.
I'm just role playing. I'm just role playing Sam as the chicken. You see, that's what's going on here. I'm practicing.
I would also like to point out that Sam started this evening when we were off screen by going, "Oh, it's not my hat. It's not mine. I promise." I swear.
I can't believe you've managed to introduce a continuity error in a situation where none of us are actually role playing. That's great work.
So just the chicken might just appear now in our Cthulhu streams or something in the background or somewhere else, and just to creep you out a little bit, just make it look like I'm a puppet. Anyway, what do I enjoy doing? Yeah, similar to other people, gaming and stuff. I'm really into like game design and game mechanics and things like that, and also designing my own. I'm currently in the middle of designing my own RPG, which I'm testing with a few folks. So Pierre's in that, among other people, and Steve and some other folks. We're having a lot of fun with that. But I've always been into game design in general. So I must have designed at least 15 board games, most of which are mostly unfinished in my time. Other than that, mostly nature-y stuff, I think. So plant ID, species ID in general. I've got a massive ID guide that I'm currently building for myself with photos that I've taken from the natures. I'm trying to learn all sorts of species IDs.
Like a real-life Pokedex.
Well, it's more practical. It's meant to be a practical ID guide, but it ends up a bit like that because it's got like on the bottom line, I've got like one adorable fact about said thing, and it's for everything. So
are you going to publish this?
And have you rated each thing like about whether it would win in a fight with another thing?
Well, considering like
yeah.
90% of them are plants and mushrooms, I'm not sure how you rate them again in fightiness.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Let's Pierre, what do you do?
I do a lot of things. I do improv, although that has like slowed down dramatically because of COVID. But I also like to draw things and paint things, which is pretty cool. I like writing. I like coding. That's most of the things I like to do. Yeah.
Don't worry. It doesn't. You don't need to make yourself sound interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. I like. What's the least interesting thing?
On walks on the beach.
I like long
Pina
walks
coladas
off of short piers.
Short
Absolutely. Short Pierre's. We were discussing that Pierre is only 1 foot tall before this as well. So
wow! Okay,
comes
the
full
opposite of a
circle. That's a
compliment.
callback to before the stream began.
Yeah.
Who else does that?
That's production value.
Absolutely. Chris, you're next. You're next.
I'm a former musician, but most of my time is spent either working or sleeping. So this has been a nice break from me from working and or sleeping.
You also are a boatman.
Again, somewhat former boatman, because what are you going to do when you're in the middle of a pandemic? It's not
sure, but we're all mentioning things that we would like to do if the world was not locked down. So I think that counts for you as well.
Surely the pandemic is the perfect time to be a boatman because you can just get on a boat and get away from everyone.
And that's exactly the kind of mentality that leaves you stranded in the middle of the Atlantic without any food or provisions.
That's a good point.
He's a sensible boatman.
Yeah.
I have some friends who are interested in kind of swimming and sea swimming, and we're pretty far from the coast, so it doesn't happen often. But they're always like, "Why don't you come in for a swim?" I've been trained on boating, and I understand that salt water is deadly poison and will kill you on contact. So you go ahead. I'll be over here where it's dry, looking wistfully and anxiously towards the sea.
Also, you've played enough Call of Cthulhu to know that you don't want to. Anywhere you can go swimming where you can't see what might be lurking below you is not a good idea. John?
So other than the role-playing, I normally like playing board games, but again, pandemic, can't have people round. Other than that, I like doing art, as you might know, because I do a lot of the character art for the series. And I also like knitting, which sounds a bit out of left field, but I actually have a mostly knitted sock right here. And it's
nice.
Esports!
Good stuff. Right now I'm wearing socks that John has made.
Fine
So there we go.
I wish I was. I'm not allowed to because I just destroy socks. So if John knits me socks, they last about 2 months. Not because John's workmanship is shoddy. John makes amazing socks. It's just my feet.
It's because you're a chicken and your clawed feet are
indeed. It's a better different sock than a chicken.
Absolutely.
I did make you socks at one point, and I think they lasted a couple of days because you wore them with shoes that had nails in the bottom.
This might be why I don't have socks lasting.
Amazing. Matthew, what do you like to do for fun? I mean, I feel the fact that you've waved climbing gear at the camera probably is a bit of a clue.
Probably a bit of a spoiler, yeah. Bit of rock climbing, bit of bouldering, like to get out into the countryside. Before, this is so like Instagram bio, but before COVID, like just loved traveling. I know everyone loves traveling, but my job would mean that I was 2 or 3 months away kind of every year.
And just kind of knowing Matthew as I do, I can verify he's a traveling guy. He's not just trying to be cool.
So that's been a bit of a change. Obviously, not doing any of that. But yeah, I spend most of my free time reading, listening to music, playing games, the usual kind of stuff. But do like getting out for a bit of a boulder. Others getting pretty midgy in the part of the world that I'm in at the moment. So yeah, bit of indoor climbing is where it's at the moment.
Just in that room, or
yeah, just climbing the wall behind me. Actually, that
hanging
one
from the light
listening
fixtures.
to the song "Climbing Up the Walls" by Radiohead at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I have realized after listening to everyone else, I do actually have interests. Because I was kind of like, I don't do anything but this channel, but I do. Yeah. Board games, do a lot of board games. Used to run a board game channel. I've already talked about that. That rack back there is full of. You can see all the role-playing games along there, which I will do a video to run through at some point, like all those role-playing games. Behind them are a load of comic book trade collections, and on the shelves below and above are board games. There's a lot of that stuff. I have a kind of encyclopedic obsession with music, various kinds of music, and also I'm super into wrestling, professional wrestling. So there we go. Yeah, and I've been known to.
Matt is not a professional wrestler, by the way.
Some of
He
the old
just
NFL now.
likes watching professional wrestling.
yeah, not doing it. No, not that. Although, in all honesty, if I could live my life through again, I might have tried to take it up when I was younger and in better shape.
There's still
to be fair, I think you'd still
There
beat
is
me at
not
wrestling
still
quite
time.
decisively now. So
yeah. So yeah, that's us. What else we got, John? What else we got?
There is this from someone.
Look at that handsome fella there. There's one from what Telling Tales merch is coming. Can I get Melvin's uncle's oven gloves? Yes, that will be the first. Yes.
What I quite like about Melvin's uncle though is there's no art for him, so everybody has a different vision in their mind of what Melvin's uncle looks like.
It's just
and what his oven gloves might look like.
Yeah.
Surely it's him on oven gloves, not just his oven gloves.
Does anyone
like
imagine
replicas of his oven gloves.
Melvin's uncle has oven gloves that have him on them.
Yeah.
It's just two hands, both with J.K. Simmons' face on.
Yeah, I can promise you right now that Johnny is going to make several hundred Melvin's uncle oven gloves, and everyone will get them. I can promise you that right now. I don't even have to ask him. I can see in his eyes he's happy to do it.
He's already
I see
knitting
too.
them.
That's
There we go. And serious end of the question. Don't know. We were thinking about it on Patreon, but until we get a lot more patrons, it's probably not very cost effective to make merchandise. But
unless it's
we'll
really cool.
Unless it's really cool.
If you disagree and you really want all of the Telling Tales merch and are willing to finance it, get in touch.
Yeah.
Small caveat on the end of that, John.
Yeah. If you run wish.com and wish to pay us. Go on, John. Next one up.
This is one from Wendelius.
Do you like coming up with a totally different character every campaign, or do you have a favorite archetype you like revisiting and getting to know better? I'll leave that one open to the players because I have no idea. Pierre.
I try to I find that as one of the most fun things. I try to do as many of the one shots as I possibly can because I really like one shots, but also I think it's partly because I like trying to do a different thing from last time. Inevitably, I do end up playing somewhat similar characters because it is me playing them, but I do sort of try and okay, so I played a really serious one last time. Right now, I'm going to play one who's trying to be a bit more sort of goofy. Okay, I played a goofy one last time. I'm trying to play one who's a bit So it's one of my favorite things about role-playing games is trying to find out different sides of your personality via playing different types of characters. So yes.
How about you, Sam?
Yeah, I was going to say very similar to Pierre there, actually. I think it's one of the things I've particularly come to enjoy, actually, while I've been playing in Telling Tales, more than perhaps previous role plays, is trying out different character types and personalities. I think it's something to acknowledge, though, when you're doing role play. If I've learned this previously, you can't play anyone. You have to kind of play someone who suits you. Certainly, maybe with enough practice, you potentially could, but it takes a lot of work to play characters that are certainly against your kind of personality features. I think that's a limitation, but it also can be a strength because you can play within that kind of spectrum, and it allows you to learn different directions. And I've had quite a lot of fun playing with the different sorts of person that I might be, you know, playing a slightly more subtle character and playing someone who's very over the top, and then playing someone who's a bit more like cautious but kind of very friendly, perhaps. And it's like I think understanding your own sort of limitations is sort of a bad way of looking at it, but your own your own archetype, what you are as a person, I suppose, and then applying that to a spectrum of roleplay characters that kind of fit, but also provide a bit of an exploration of yourself as an expansion of that. It's quite fun. Yeah, again, as Pierre said, it's a fun exploration of yourself.
Yeah. Have any of the frequent players in our group got different answers or different takes on it than Pierre and Sam?
I
would like
serial character creator. I love building characters. I mean, a lot of them are fairly similar in one way or another, but I just love that section of every roleplay book.
It is.
I would like to kind of echo what Sam said with you kind of still have to, you want to go for different characters, but you kind of still have to play a character that suits you. Because I periodically go through a phase of going, you know, I never play really charismatic, talky characters. Maybe I should play that. And then still just awkwardly fumbling through words because it's me. And I think playing characters who are much more charismatic than you, or much smarter than you, or whatever, is incredibly difficult, but still quite fun and still worth trying. Because
Hey, you might find out that you're more charismatic or smart than you thought you were.
yeah, or at the very
It's a cool
least
thing.
that you're pretty good at faking it.
Yeah.
Which is the more valuable life skill, in all honesty, especially in
Yeah.
interviews.
There's a sort of-
As far as like regular archetypes, I try and always pick something different. But I also try and pick something that's like slightly different from the archetype of whatever I'm playing. Like, what if I was a Toreador that hates art? And then you just sort of end up running out of character ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a sort of related question I kind of had, which was a thing I've found. Sometimes I can play a type of character, but like when I play that character, it doesn't make me that happy. Like it's a part of my personality that I don't like as much as other parts. And
Yeah.
sometimes I find that like, yeah, I could do that, but it's not as fun as like when I play the bits of myself that I think like that I like the most, you know. And it's a weird one because sometimes I don't know if other people sort of find themselves falling into this where like if you've played like a character who's particularly unpleasant for a long period of time, you can be like, I just want to play like a happy, you know, go-getter kind of character for a little bit because man, this character is like, you know, dragging me down a little bit. I don't know if you guys feel that.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
I
Does anyone else
agree
want
with
to
that.
offer anything? As I'm just conscious that we have questions to get through and time is ticking on. But if anyone else wants to throw anything else in, no, we're good. We're good. Next up, please, John.
Okay.
Test 42. Hi, and also I noticed through clicking around when I was just trying to tune out my fellow streamers, really. No. But when I click around, thank you for your Prime subscription. Very generous. After picking up Simbroom, hence finding you guys through that, what advice would you have for GM or players that are totally new to the game? What is the one thing people need to get their heads around about that game/setting? Obviously, I guess this is primarily something me and Chris can answer, or maybe John as well. I would say that I think the one thing people need to get their heads around with the game in that is the concept of GM not rolling. And not so much for the GM, because the GM just needs to take no action with it, but actually for the players, I would say the players anticipating the role they have to make next, because obviously there's often there's a sequence of roles, and making that before the GM asks for it to help with the flow of the game, I would say is the most important, just mechanical thing to get used to. And with the setting, I would say that don't give in to the urge to make it a dungeon bash. because the setting, while it encourages that danger and that the wildness of that, is very much more than that. And I would say it's a game that really blossoms when you think about the subtextual elements of the setting, specifically things like colonialism and sort of the I think Chris put it best, and he put it best when he put it to the writers of the game, and they were very pleased that he did so on a stream. It is a game where if you play an Ambrian, you are both a colonizer and a refugee, which is quite a dichotomy to find yourself in. And if I sound pretentious, yeah, I'm a pretentious type. So, but those are the two things that I'd think about when picking up Symbaroum. Chris?
Yeah, I think what really gets its hooks into me about Symbarism, the joy of playing Symbaroum is now called Symbarism, is the fact that the setting is the story to quite a large extent. So Matt's exactly right. You don't want to just kind of give people a big line of monsters to bash you. Symbaroum works well when you try and get into the weeds of Davokar and uncovering this kind of ancient civilization, not in kind of here is the plot for today delivered, and now here is the monster you have to kill to achieve that, but more in terms of trying to make that a real mystery. And I think if you're getting people to play Symbaroum, I honestly rate almost everything Free League have published with regards to the stories. They're all cloying, spooky, occasionally fraught, occasionally heartbreaking ways to get through that concept.
Yeah, I agree. What next we got, John?
Oh, I was going to add something to the Symbaroum thing, which is one of the things I see on Reddit and other forums like that is a lot of people kind of get the magic system wrong, because again, it's a fantasy system where you can heal people with a touch and throw fireballs and stuff. So sometimes, particularly parties go in, they're like, okay, we need a magic caster, because it seems like it's high fantasy because the magic users can do all this crazy shit. But it actually kind of runs more like a low fantasy because the magic is supposed to be used so sparingly because of the magic corruption cost.
Yeah, if you go in and start throwing fireballs left and right, you're going to be a ravening abomination that's given over to the GM as an opponent before the session is done.
Stay tuned for a potential forthcoming video where we will be going deeper into the system of Symbaroum in terms of kind of this kind of slightly pretentious system chat.
And you don't even have to wait for a forthcoming video. We already have a video that's still available as a VOD over on YouTube, which is discussing setting, themes, and mechanics of Symbaroum, which is one of our most popular videos, I think. Next question, please, Jonathan.
So, first of all, we have a shout-out from Azimuth.
Yes, we do have a friendly Discord server if you have any other questions or we miss anything in chat. It's quite like it because our chat is very busy tonight, and we thank you for that. If you want to join us over on Discord, please do. We'd love to have you.
And an extra incentive.
That's from Johnny. It's very friendly, and sometimes he posts pictures of his cats. I can confirm this.
Caution you, however, if you are allergic to having your bank account siphoned by amazing Kickstarters, you might want to at least consider some content filters.
They're tucked away in a thread for the most part. You can just not join the thread and you might be okay.
I hadn't bought a role-playing game in 20-odd years, and now there's a growing pile behind me of weird Scandinavian nonsense dice games.
Nice.
The next very good question that I have is
it's one from our very own Matthew here. I appreciate I'm on this stream, but I do have a question. How dare you? What's your take on the extent to which the players have a responsibility or not to be aware of the wider story narrative when making in-player decisions? I don't do X even though it's in character because it's boring or will derail the proceedings, etc. That is genuinely a really, really fucking good question. like I am aware I'm rambling a lot in this stream. Do we want me to have a take on that, or go? What were you looking for there, Matt? Were you looking for more a player's perspective or a GM's perspective?
I don't know really. Just anyone's. I guess partially from a GM's perspective, but also maybe from a broadcaster's perspective, if that makes sense.
Okay,
I imagine
sure.
that the answer to this question probably is different depending on whether there's
Yeah,
an audience or not. But yeah, it was just something that I'd been thinking about a little bit as a player, and was just interested in your guys' thoughts on it.
So, I've gone to pains within the stuff I've run on the channel to make sure that my players have what they need to understand the elements of the setting and story of what I'm presenting, and preferably not much more than that, because I don't want to overload them, especially because we're switching around story settings more frequently than one would tend to in an offline game. But having said that, I think that I hope I don't digress on this, because this is the thing I could talk about at significant length. I think there's very much a movement in modern TTRPG circles to emphasize handing over handing over of more control and agency to the player as opposed to the GM, less of kind of the railroady GMs of the past. And I think that is mostly a good thing, with a couple of caveats, as I'm sure you would expect from someone who's been a GM for 30 years. 30 years? God, not quite yet. Oh, no. Yeah, 30 years. Yeah. But I think one thing that maybe hasn't come up as much as it maybe should have is that equally the players, as well as they should have more agency and more fiat, probably have an emphasis should be put on more responsibility for them for building the world and telling the story alongside the GM. Not just they get to do what they want, but also perhaps that there is a shared responsibility there to explore the world together. And that obviously varies wildly from setting to setting. For example, obviously, Matt, what you've been involved with is primarily Call of Cthulhu. And within that, like, there is an advantage there that you are playing in a recognizable world, where although obviously the laws of space and time may be flipped upside down from every now and then, it's still like recognizable. You're playing in 1920s Scotland, as like a UK resident, you have an understanding of what that might be like, and therefore you have to do a lot less work than you would in something like Symbaroum or Blades in the Dark, where the setting's a bit more alien to what we understand. But I am rambling now, and I would say that to me, within the confines of telling tales, at least, it is quite important to me that the players do some preparatory work in order to tell the story together. Because as I emphasize to people, and this is pulling the fourth wall aside a bit, we talk a lot at Telling Tales about how this isn't just a normal role-playing game. We are presenting as well as role-playing together. You're not just we want it to feel like you're just getting a snapshot into us playing games with friends, but what we're actually doing is not that, because we put a significant amount of time and effort into concerning ourselves with the presentation, and part of that is that the players aren't constantly going, oh, I don't know what that is. You know what I mean? So there's has that answered that? I don't even know.
Yeah, I think it has. Yeah,
Johnny, do you have thoughts on this?
My thought on it is that I do think that there is a responsibility on the players to kind of keep the narrative going. However, I found it difficult to answer that question because I don't feel it's come up. I don't ever really feel in this like I've had to go, right, and now this is going to happen, because you're like there have been quite a lot of lengthy conversations between like in character, like an hour potentially, but it's that kind of investigative thing where you want those conversations to happen because you want them to come to the conclusions that are necessary for them to come to. So in some games that I've played, not on here, but you know, kind of GMs have gone, okay, and had to kind of shuffle things along when doing. It's normally when you are doing planning things, and people have kind of gone, right, okay, I'm kind of going to shift it into real time now, which I've done before in an offline game as well, and gone, right, you've got 5 minutes before these people are raining down on you, or before the group passes by, and then you however much planning you've done doesn't matter because they've gone, and kind of do it. But that's never come up in this. It's kind of
No, yeah, and I think, as I said, I think part of that is Call of Cthulhu being such a real world setting, as it were. It really helps people with not having to project quite as much and like pretend that they know stuff that they don't or whatever.
So it's going to be very interesting over the next couple of months, because I believe the next 2 one-shots are GM light or GM free. So I think that kind of flips the conversation around a bit as well.
It definitely does. Yeah, this Saturday, Pierre down there is going to be running Dungeon World, and the Saturday after, not the Saturday after that, the month after that, on a Saturday, Chris will be running Wander Home, which is a kind of pastoral. Lovely animals going on a lovely journey kind of RPG. So what's up next, John?
I was going to say something about this one.
Oh yeah, go for it, Pierre. Go for it.
Just the last bit, which was don't do X even though it's in character because it's boring / will derail the proceedings. I think it's interesting because no player actually wants to do something boring ever. They don't want to be boring. They don't want their character creation to be boring. I think in the case that it happens where a player does something out of character, it's usually because there's some tension between the story that the player wants their character to go through and the story that the GM is sort of wanting to tell. And it's like, that can be entirely player fault. Like, it can be that the player is just being a dick or whatever, or it can be like entirely GM fault because GM is not listening at all to player. But probably most of the time it's going to be like a kind of mix where it's like, you know, the sorts of opportunities that the GM wants to give the player is not the sort of thing that the player was envisaging when they first came up with their character, right? Like, so the player thinks, I want my character to be this person who goes around killing people like mercilessly, and the GM has set up a world that is like,
that
if you
doesn't
kill anyone,
work with that.
No, this is the worst thing in the world. And it's like, well,
And
I think we've done really well in that we've had like a thing where before streams we've often sort of set it up so that the player expectations are like, right, so this is the kind of world that this is. And I think that speaks to what Matt's thing is.
I think, like, I couldn't agree more that one of the most important things you can do with an RPG, whether it's online and like this or at home, is a session zero where you establish the theme and the setting and the kind of things characters are the GM is expecting the characters to do and the kind of thing they might not be, and similarly what the players are expecting that the world might be like and their characters might be able to do and not. And it's absolutely vital, because otherwise, I was going to say, a lot of these things aren't just like, you know, the GM's fucking up or the players are being assholes or whatever. It's that mismatch of communication in the group, and 9 times out of 10 it's just that, because people ultimately want to have a good time and tell a story together. So
I also think,
thanks, folks.
We've been talking a lot about like the player GM dynamics of like the story that the GM wants to tell, but it's also worth chatting up. Sometimes it's worth thinking about what story the other players want to tell, and like if you're doing character creation where someone is like mortally opposed to this other type of thing that another character is, then it's like, is that the system? Is that the dynamic you want to play? Are you happy with you and this other player being opposed and being aggressive at each other, or is that just bad vibes that you don't want in your RPG? It's one of the things that we kind of run into sometimes with Vampire, because that's still quite adversarial. We're all working towards a common goal, but we've got different ideas about how to work towards that common goal, and that's interesting, but it can also be very awkward navigating as players, as opposed to characters.
Definitely.
Just quickly, one sort of related thing that's not exactly the question is that I really like when you get the opportunity to do something in character that you as a player know is going to be bad for your character or potentially bad for your character.
Yeah.
Like, X bad thing is happening and you go, oh, well, for example, in Call of Cthulhu, you might go, well, I'm going to read this section from this book out loud. And it's like, that it's probably going to be bad, but it's what your character would do. So
yeah,
you
absolutely.
do it.
God, I love
and
those
I think,
moments.
but also I do think that adds to the narrative as opposed to taking away from it. So there isn't really any kind of additional responsibility there. It's more world building. It's bringing the
absolutely
world more into itself. So
it definitely the case.
I will also give a friendly tip to players that is something that I kind of only just twigged when we started streaming. Of sometimes if you're like, I think my character will do this, but it's a bad idea, it's kind of okay to say to your GM, I think my character will do this, but I kind of don't want them to do this. And then if the narrative fudging is necessary, then your GM will probably go, okay, well maybe this happens, that means you can't do that. And then everyone's happy with the story.
Oh yeah, always ask a GM if you want them to put Deus Ex in. Like,
yeah,
that's absolutely fine.
My point is sometimes it's okay to talk about your inner monologue as a player, and then everyone can get along.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it.
Have we got anything else, John? I definitely did see. Oh, there we go. What are the TTRPGs? Do you have your eyes on or play/want to play? Not necessarily just wants to play on stream. You've asked a question there, Tess, let me tell you.
TTRPGs is the best thing I've heard in like a month. I'm stealing that forever.
Yeah, like I don't want to default on this question and like brush you off, but you could get an answer, a long answer to that if you wanted to join our Discord, because we talk about stuff all the time. For me, sure, let's give. I won't list everything because just too much. Here we go. Here's something I have, and I'll link it in the chat as well. Here's a thing that I believe is being published through Modiphius, and I was shocked when I saw it that it wasn't being published actually by Free League. I know they work with Modiphius, but like here is a game I saw the other day called Viking Death Squad. That I have a lot of interest in picking up and playing, which is like a kind of gonzo, far future apocalyptic. It's mainly inspired by the song War Pigs by Black Sabbath. So there you go. That's all you need to know. It looks kind of like a far future Morkborg sort of thing, although I know there is a far future Morkborg coming called Cyborg. But yeah, that's something I definitely want to get my hands on sometime in the near future. Anyone else? Shout out your RPGs you want to play.
I've got... Oh, sorry, go on, Chris.
Yeah, I think I've been waiting a while for Death in Space to arrive. And this is going to sound like a laundry list of Free League related stuff, but it kind of is. I'm also very excited to see what happens with Cyborg, which is tangentially Free League. Very interested to see what happens with Into the Odds, which again, we've been discussing these at length in the Discord, and I'm very excited in all of them. Keen to get my hands on the physical copy of Wonder Home I've ordered because it is a beautiful object. And I suppose in more general terms, I am keen on this channel to have a slightly longer term stab at some sci-fi in the mid to long term as well. Not just a one shot, something that rolls a bit, because I think restricting ourselves to the kind of the skewed Eurocentrism of the fantasy setting is a bit of a limitation, and we should go to space and explosions, satellite explosion.
Yeah. Go on, Johnny.
I've got the Alien Colonial Marines book, and I'm looking forward to running some of that for some other. I have other friends. I'm sorry for some other friends. Oh, I'm so sorry, Matt. I'm so sorry. I've also got my friends, Handiwork Games, have done a Beowulf RPG, which runs on the 5e mechanics. and is designed to have one player and one GM. So you can have more players, but it's sort of set up for you to have a 2-player game, which is cool. And they've also just done the A State 2nd edition Kickstarter. So when that shows up at some point next year, I think it's April next year or something, that the physical copies will come through. I'd like to run that as well.
We play tested, right?
We did play test that, yeah. So I think our names will be in the book.
It's like a Cyberpunk Blades in the Dark, right? It's Forged in the Dark system.
It is Forged in the Dark, yeah.
Yeah.
So that'll be good.
Anyone else?
I was going to say I'm quite looking forward to playing a bit of. Oh, Matthew's gone L. That's really weird.
That is exciting stuff right there.
I was just about to say,
how does that even happen?
Play a bit of Cyberpunk, and then that happens.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sam hacked the system.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to hopefully playing a bit of Cyberpunk. Might hopefully be on the channel. We'll see about that. GMing a bit of Cyberpunk. What else? I'm also got my hands on Wicked Ones a little while ago. I think that's a free league, the one where you play the little monsters with their little dungeon, and that just seems like so much fun. I'm really excited to GM that. Otherwise, obviously, I'm excited to keep developing and playing the role-play game that I'm personally designing as well, which obviously I've mentioned earlier that folks are playing with me. So maybe one day in the far future I'll release that to the internet, but it'll probably be like 15 years or something at this rate.
Anyone else?
I do not have any, because I am just dipping my toes into this lake with my Dungeon World, and I'm just trying to learn that one real good. But once I've been bitten by the bug, I'm sure I'll keep learning more.
I would really like to play Alien, just because I'm a huge fan of the universe.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I wanted to comment because I'm actually also going to be attempting to do, because I've been obviously chatting with my housemates, and they've never even heard of TTRPG as a concept before. So I'll be running Wonder Home for them, and they're also really this is a Twin Peaks household. So I'm trying to figure out a way to give them that kind of experience, given that I'm very bad at telling stories. So
I was actually going to say to that, Chris, because you asked the question in our Discord. Did you actually see the replies to that? Because a bunch of people did reply. Yeah,
I have, and I've taken some of them on board, and there's some really interesting things, like analyzing how a lot of what David Lynch does is about conflict and about making things difficult between people, and that's not conducive to your first roleplay experience. But a lot of it's also just kind of spooky, kind of tangential.
Yeah, spooky, surreal, odd.
I'm
things.
More into that.
Yeah. Anyone got anything else?
When I have a huge amount of time spare, would like to have a try at 1,000-Year-Old Vampire.
Ooh, yeah,
mostly because I read through. I can't remember who it was, but someone did like an illustrated.
Oh, that was gorgeous.
Copy.
Yeah, I've seen that.
It was really good.
It was amazing.
So nice. For anyone who doesn't know, 1,000-Year-Old Vampire is a solo RPG. So in other words, no GM, you just do it yourself and kind of create a story as you go along. No, that does look really good. You know what? This seems like an ideal time to talk about future plans, doesn't it? If we're talking about RPG things we're planning. I did see someone ask a question in there as well of, is there any plans to carry on Call of Cthulhu after the 3 stories we've got? I think it might have been from 42. And this seems like an ideal time to say it. So currently the plans for the far future are kind of non-existent for Telling Tales. We just think about what we're going to do next. It was 42. Are there more plans for further Call of Cthulhu? I'm sure we will return to Call of Cthulhu in one format or another. I'd be very surprised if we didn't. But there's currently no plans for going beyond the 3 stories that Johnny has told. But what we can tell you, what we do know, obviously we've revealed a load of one-shots we're going to be doing through to the end of the year. Dungeon World is this month. Chris is doing Wander Home in October. And then Chris is on the docket again for doing the following month. He's going to be running Dune, shamelessly piggybacking off the presumed success of the film. And then December is going to be a one-shot voted for by you lovely people on our Discord and our social media, basically just voting for one of the one-shots we've already done through the year to have a sequel to that. So it's kind of up in the air at the moment, but that'll be that. But What we do know is that 2 of our long-running series are coming to a close at some point soon, or at least going on hiatus. They may be back in the future. And new things are going to be happening. And first off, Johnny, why don't you tell people what's coming up on Monday nights in the not-too-distant future?
Okay. Once we are done with this 3rd arc of Call of Cthulhu, we're going to have probably a week off. And then there's going to be a slight shuffle in crew. And then I am going to be running the low fantasy game Shadows of Esteren, which is a very cool game made by a French company. I think they're called Agate RPG. Very nice people from my experience. I've met them a couple of times at UK Games Expo. And I was playing at the time when I met them. Somebody else was running it. And I got my character drawn in the front of the book by one of the artists, which was very nice of them. So it's basically sort of low fantasy, as in you as players can't really cast spells. You kind of think that there's magic, but it's more sort of like rituals and potions than casting a lightning bolt from your hands or anything like that. And sort of maybe there are weird things in some woods somewhere, but there are dragons roaming the land. It's sort of
there's kind of almost like folk horror elements to it, right? Of kind of like
of course there is.
Johnny's running it.
But yes, so I'm going to be running. It'll end up slightly adapted, but basically the sort of there are 3 intro adventures, so I'm going to be doing at least one of those before then deciding whether to continue that. I think that's enough of an explanation of that. I'm looking forward to it. I've never run it before. I've played it as a player for sort of 3, maybe like 30 sessions total, and it's a really good game. Very simple system, really good fun.
Absolutely, and our shifted Monday crew will be playing that, and I imagine that I think we calculated that'll probably kick in about halfway through October, something like that. Is when that'll kick in, and it'll be doing so in a similar time frame to the other thing that's changing. Oh my god, how to explain this? Okay, so the first thing that's happening, that's changing in one of our ongoing series, is that Tuesday nights is going to be becoming Thursday nights for various reasons. One of which is that we have consistently struggled to get people to watch on Tuesday night, so we want to shuffle things up a bit, shuffle the crews around a bit, and see if anything sticks. See if that feels better for people out there. I don't know. So we're going to be playing on Thursdays. And now I'm saying this out loud. Oh my god, what a terrible idea. So, you know how no one liked us playing Vampire? Well, as a reaction to that, I've decided we're going to be playing more Vampire. But with a twist. And it's not just Vampire. Many of you out there, I have no doubt, especially people of a rough age as me, will remember the highly, wildly successful World of Darkness role-playing games from their 90s and early 2000s as well. And we're specifically kind of those core groups that White Wolf produced of Vampire the Masquerade, Werewolf the Apocalypse, Mage the Ascension, Wraith the Oblivion, and Changeling the Dreaming, all playing kind of supernatural creatures in a gothic punk equivalent of our world, massively inspiring urban horror and urban fantasy stuff that's then rolled on from after it. Essentially, if you want to look at the roots of anything you've enjoyed in those spheres, they all go back to that and Anne Rice and pretty much nothing else. To the point where several times the publishers of those role-playing games have been either paid in court or paid out of court to avoid court cases of copying stuff over. So we're going to be doing something I've wanted to do since I was 15 years old, which is we are going to be taking a tour of those systems, and a tour of those systems in a very specific way, where we are going to be running 6 short story arcs of probably around 4 sessions each of them visiting one of those systems. So we'll start off with Vampire the Masquerade, and we'll run a little short story arc there. Then we'll move to Werewolf the Apocalypse, and the players will make their werewolf characters and run as them, and so on and so forth until we've done those 5 main systems. And then the 6th one is going to be, you know what, I won't go into detail about that. That's going to be a little bit of a surprise, including for the players, but it'll bring together the 5 stories that they've done. And all of those first 5 stories are going to be set in one place, on one night in 1995. And it's something, like I said, I wanted to do for 25 years now. And frankly, even if it's a massive failure in terms of no one wants to watch it because no one wants Vampire or anything else, I wanted to do it anyway, so it's all good. And yeah, that should take up about 6 months of Thursday nights, and then we'll think about what comes next after that. Yeah, but that's what we're doing, and we're just calling it the World of Darkness thing at the moment. And one thing we've noticed, and again, to pull back the fourth wall a bit, people seem to like it when we do things that have kind of hooks, you know, that have like, this is an interesting angle we're taking on this, or we're doing a specific thing that no one's done before. And this is definitely that, I think. I shouldn't imagine. It's one of these kind of like ideas that's almost like a holy grail for people who love World of Darkness stuff. And gonna do it. We're going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm not terrified.
Always a good name in chat there. I like that.
Day of Darkness. Yeah, maybe.
Kind of excludes our TT friends, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not if it's dark.
Day and Night of Darkness. Night and Day of Darkness. Yeah.
24-hour darkness party, darkness people.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't smile. Lights out. So, yeah, that's what we're going to be doing. And as Johnny has mentioned, the crew is Mondays and Tuesdays, although it'll be Mondays and Thursdays then, the crew is like jumbled around a little bit. And there's going to be sort of 5 players in World of Darkness. Here's where it gets slightly more complicated again. There's 5 players in World of Darkness, but each one of them is going to be missing out on one of the arcs. So, for example, Chris is sick of vampires, so Chris will not be playing vampires. And John doesn't particularly like the werewolf stuff, so John won't be playing werewolves. And yeah, stuff like that, right? So that's the plan. I know it sounds massively overly complicated, and it is, but it's one of my ideas, so it's going to be.
It'll be
so
great.
There we go. It'll be great. It'll be a lot of fun, I think. We'll really explore that world and with the different angles to take on it. It's an interesting narrative conceit, if I do say so myself. So yeah. That's what we have planned. And as for Simbaroom, more Simbaroom. It's our most successful show. We're not stopping.
We're also off the deep end. Throne of Thorns is like a multi-year campaign if we're playing at this rate. So yeah, buckle up if you want to see Steo stab some things until he finally gets stabbed.
Absolutely. I'm sure we'll take breaks like we did with Coriolis. Like after we've done Wrath of the Warden, I'm sure we'll take a break and do an interim system. But if there's anything you'd love to see us run, then join our Discord and throw it at us there. And yeah, we'll do it. But that's it. That's our plans. That's all of them. Don't think there's anything else. That's enough, I think.
Just all next year's one-shots are going to be a lovely
Oh my God, it's not all our plans. Oh, there's so much more. No. The other thing that we're doing, and I won't give too much detail on this because I feel we're already massively running over what we wanted to do with this stream. There is we're going to start maybe doing a thing where we record some offline stuff as like more low pressure, like producing of things, and maybe we can edit it together in a fun way as well. And we're going to start putting those out. We will still stream them, and obviously then they'll go to VOD as well, but not live stuff. And probably the first thing we do with that, or maybe the first thing we do with that, will actually be a series that started getting recording for ATCB Gaming about 3 years ago. And then because ATCP Gaming kind of fell apart, it hasn't been done. But that's a Mutant Year Zero campaign, and might pick that up again when we can actually all get in a room together and record it next to each other like human beings. Yeah, so that might be coming as well, along with other recorded stuff. But we don't know too much about that yet. I think you'll agree we've got enough plans. So, yeah. Have we got anything else, John, or shall we wrap up lovely anniversary stream there.
There was a question from Wendelius about the Dune one shot, but Chris answered that in chat.
Sure.
Of basically how are we going to run it? Dunno. Let's find out together.
Sure, absolutely. Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this, folks. More people than we thought would turn out. And thanks so much for my fellow TT crew for joining and rambling. And thank you so much for everyone who's been involved over the last 12 months, whether you've been crew or fans or anything in between. Then yeah, we really appreciate it. And here's to hopefully another 12 months of fun and stress. Getting this all going. I'm never stressed. Everyone who knows me will tell you I'm never stressed.
What about Strun though?
Strun.
Fress and Strun.
Fress and Strun. There'll be plenty of both, I'm sure. Yep. Thank you, everyone. Take care and stay safe. And we will. The next thing we'll see you for is this Saturday when this gentleman down here, Pierre, will be running Dungeon World, one of his first GM experiences. Don't miss it. 3:00 p.m. BST. Join us for that.
Yes.
Catch you later, folks. Goodbye.
Happy birthday, Telling Tales.
Happy birthday.